This was not your normal, typical burglary. There was bugging devices, tear gas pens, many rolls of film, locksmith tools.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 historic conspiracies that turned out to be true.
Just get me elected. I'll give you a damn war.
For this list, we'll be looking at the most shocking conspiracies from times past that were eventually exposed. Which of these were news to you? Tell us in the comments. Number 10. Faked Gulf War testimony.
What I saw happen to the children of Kuwait and to my country has changed my life forever.
In 1991, the U.S. Congress voted on whether to authorize military intervention in the Gulf as a response to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait. It was a close thing, but the Senate gave George Bush Sr. the backing he needed.
Withdraw from Kuwait or face a coalition ready and willing to employ all means necessary.
To justify their decision, 7 senators cited the testimony of a 15-year-old volunteer nurse and refugee named Naira. She had given a harrowing account of premature babies taken from incubators by Iraqi soldiers and left to die.
Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor. It was horrifying.
However, it was all propaganda. Naira was actually the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador to the U.S. She had been drafted as part of a PR campaign run by an American firm working for the Kuwaiti government.
Kuwait is our mother, and then they are our father. We repeated this on the roofs of our houses in Kuwait until the Iraqis began shooting at us.
Number 9. The First Lady President. After President Woodrow Wilson suffered a stroke in October 1919, he was left incapacitated and never fully recovered. But the extent of his health issues were kept secret. So who was running the country?
I should bring it to Woodrow, who was like half awake. And she'd be like, all right, well, Congress is like, blah, blah, blah. And he'd be like,
Behind the scenes, Wilson's wife Edith had stepped into the breach, deciding what matters to bring to the president. It's been argued that this made her, in effect, the first acting female president of the USA. Ironic, really, as American women weren't even allowed to vote until the following year. When discussing her 17-month stewardship, Edith downplayed her influence, saying that, quote, "The only decision that was mine was what was important and what was not," end quote.
Edith just propped up Woodrow in bed, like waving, like, hey.
Number 8. UFO investigations. The U.S. government may not be investigating UFOs at Area 51, but that doesn't mean that official research isn't happening somewhere.
While most of the cases were explained as either satellites, weather balloons, high-flying jets, or even meteors, still hundreds of cases remain unidentified.
Project Blue Book, which ran from 1952 to 1969, was public knowledge.
The report includes more than 12,000 sightings made by military members and civilians.
But in 2017, it was revealed that from 2007 to 2012, the U.S. government also funded an unpublicized investigation called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program to the tune of $22 million. In 2020, we learned of another UFO program, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. Its findings included photos and videos of UFOs that experts have struggled to explain.
This was recorded while the U.S. Navy ship observed a number of small unmanned aerial systems in the area. And importantly, the video was taken through night vision goggles with a single lens reflex camera. These remained unresolved for several years.
Number 7. Project Sunshine. With the advent of nuclear bombs and the Cold War, the American government funded a slew of studies on the effects of radiation. They included giving radioactive pills to pregnant women, feeding radioactive tracers to children with intellectual disabilities, exposing soldiers and prisoners to radiation, and body snatching. The latter was part of a program called Project Sunshine. Bodies and parts of bodies, particularly those of children, were obtained from hospitals in the US and Europe without the consent of families to study the effects of nuclear testing around the globe. According to the transcript of a secret 1955 meeting, Atomic Energy Commission Commissioner Dr. Willard Libby felt that by doing so, doctors and scientists were, quote, serving their country.
And if anyone knows how to do a good job of body snatching, they will really be serving their country.
Number 6. Operation Berkshire. The health risks associated with smoking are now common knowledge. A casual link between smoking and cancer was first demonstrated in the 1950s.
There's a very strong relationship, and probably a causal relationship, between heart disease and cigarette smoking.
However, for decades, the heads of tobacco companies tried to muddy the waters.
We sterilize our tobacco so it's free of germs.
In 1976, 7 of the world's major tobacco companies conspired to promote controversy over the effects of smoking in Operation Berkshire.
But you have to realize that through manipulation of the mass media, the public is under the impression that your cigarettes are linked to certain fatal diseases.
Manipulation of the media? Hell, that's what I pay you for.
They funded alternative research, helped spread misinformation, and encouraged consumers to doubt the science, delaying action to protect people's health. Today, many activists have drawn a parallel between the strategies of big tobacco and fossil fuel companies with regard to climate change. Number 5. Operation Paperclip. While the U.S. condemned the aggression and atrocities of the Nazi Party during the Second World War, they were also recruiting and protecting the minds that helped orchestrate them.
This Operation Paperclip after World War II, Shield recruited German scientists with strategic value.
They thought I could help their cause. I also helped my own.
Operation Paperclip was a U.S. intelligence operation that poached over 1,600 scientists from Nazi Germany. Many of them were ex-Nazi Party members and former leaders. In secret, they were set to work for Uncle Sam. Werner von Braun, a big player in the creation of the Apollo space program, had previously managed a workforce picked from concentration camps. And the prestigious Struchold Award was discontinued in 2013 after the revelation that its namesake was connected to human experiments during World War II.
To get around Truman's express orders to exclude Nazi supporters, they created false biographies for these men.
Number 4. The Gulf of Tonkin Incident. In August of 1964, a confrontation took place between North and South Vietnamese naval forces. 2 days later, there were reports of another attack, this time involving U.S. forces in the Gulf of Tonkin. This alleged second attack provided an excuse for U.S. President Lyndon B. Johnson to escalate American involvement in the Vietnam War. However, it never happened.
Renewed hostile actions against United States ships on the high seas in the Gulf of Tonkin have today required me to order the military forces of the United States to take action in reply.
The evidence for the confrontation was sketchy, based on communications that had been wrongly interpreted. Nevertheless, the incident was reported as fact and used to drum up public support for deploying U.S. conventional forces.
Just get me elected. I'll give you a damn war.
Johnson privately admitted, quote, "For all I know, our Navy was shooting at whales out there," end quote. The truth was only confirmed in 2003 by former United States Secretary of Defense Robert S. McNamara. Number 3. MKUltra. There's no evidence that the government is trying to control your mind with fluoride, 5G, or so-called chemtrails, and wearing a tinfoil hat is just going to make you look silly. However, there have been CIA experiments in mind control. In the 1950s and 60s, the CIA became paranoid that Soviets were pioneering brain perversion techniques for interrogation. So, through a top-secret program called MKUltra, the CIA conducted and authorized experiments on unwitting victims, including patients, prisoners, veterans, and even orphans. These often featured psychoactive drugs and electroshock therapy.
He also was put in an insulin coma for 36 days. With a recording beside him saying that your mother hates you.
In Canada, many of the victims of British psychiatrist Donald Ewan Cameron at McGill University suffered permanent effects. We don't know how many people died, said journalist Stephen Kinzer, but a number did, and many lives were permanently destroyed.
Pacing the hall this morning saying, "I'm just a prisoner. I feel like Jesus on the cross, can feel the nails in my hands and feet."
Number 2. Watergate.
About 1:52 in the morning, the call comes out for an alleged burglary at the Watergate Hotel.
Conspiracy theorists appear to have multiplied in recent decades, and the Watergate scandal of the 1970s certainly didn't help matters.
The American people are turning sullen. They've been clobbered on all sides by Vietnam, Watergate, the inflation, the depression.
On June 17, 1972, burglars hired by Republican President Richard Nixon's re-election campaign were caught breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters at Washington, D.C. In response, Nixon attempted to cover up the involvement of his administration, obstructing justice at every turn. Audio recordings revealed his complicity, however, and facing impeachment, he resigned in August 1974.
But as president, I must put the interests of America first. Therefore, I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
To this day, his name is synonymous with political corruption and dirty tricks. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into Settings and switch on your notifications. Number 1. Operation Condor. From 1975 to 1989, this U.S.-backed campaign saw right-wing dictatorships in South America coordinate to repress and terrorize citizens deemed politically dissident. It's estimated that 60,000 people died, many of them kidnapped, tortured, and killed. Hundreds of thousands were imprisoned. In the 1990s, then-President Bill Clinton declassified documents relating to U.S. involvement, much of which went through the CIA.
The essential thing was to keep the whole world from going communist, to avoid a system like the Soviet Union's.
The American government provided military aid, planning, and training, including on torture techniques. The idea was supposedly to, quote, eliminate Marxist terrorist activities. The victims included union leaders, peasants, nuns, monks, students, and teachers. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.